Welcome back to Interview At, where we teach you how to use the Amazon leadership principles to land your dream job, whether it's an engineering manager role, which is who I'm talking to today, product manager, operations manager, sales, biz dev, program management. Doesn't matter what the role is. It actually doesn't even matter what the industry is. If you understand how to use leadership principles and how you communicate the information from your resume to a potential employer, you're going to stand out. You're just going to look better. And this is what this channel is all about, is teaching you how to show up better in your interviews so that you can land your dream job. If this content has been useful for you ever, today, whatever, I definitely appreciate a like or subscribe. It helps grow the channel. It helps me know that I'm doing a great job. Actually, it feels great when I get comments. So comment below. What content are you looking for? What kinds of questions are you looking for? Was this helpful for you? If it wasn't, what could I do to make it better? One of the pieces of feedback I got in the last, week or two was I've been asked to kind of give more of the, hey, what would you do? Kind of content, right? How could you have made this better, right? And I thought I was doing that, but apparently I'm not doing it well enough. So I'm definitely going to focus on that in this specific piece of content. So definitely leave those comments in the leave your comments below, and I will do my best to make sure that I address them. So what do we have this week? We have an engineering manager who is making a switch from one FAANG company to another FAANG company. I myself made the switch from one FAANG company to another FAANG company. I see this a lot, especially at the more senior roles. This is a more senior leader. The leadership principle that we are focusing on today is invent and simplify. And the specific question I asked was to talk about a time where they made something significantly, that's an important word, significantly simpler for their customers. So let's see what they had to say, and we will do some analysis along the way. So now this, we've talked, the last two questions have been more about your team style management, and how you've kind of identified talent or managed talent through your teams. And this is now, I want to focus on you as a leader. Now you can use a team as an extended tool, that's fine, but I want to focus on you as someone who's making decisions. And in this specific case, where you made something significantly easier for your customers. This is really kind of an important thing, which is I, as the interviewer here, was being kind and saying where you made a decision, right? Where you did a thing, right? Even if the interviewer is not that explicit and being very clear that they're looking for you, I often see this with senior leaders coming out of large organizations where they've kind of gotten removed from doing stuff, and they have large teams and they just kind of manage the teams and they delegate. When you're interviewing in a company, you want to be able to demonstrate that you have the ability to do the job. And sometimes that job is rolling up your sleeves and getting work done. So think of this as not an opportunity to boast, this being the interview, to boast about how big your team is and how awesome you are at delegating stuff and making your minions work for you, but an opportunity to demonstrate what you do well and how you manage your teams to accomplish those goals and marshal the resources across the company to get those things done. But it can't exist at such a high level that it's hard to discern what you actually did. And obviously I'll have followed.
Sure. Again, just a little bit of macro here. Because we do the voice product, voice has an administration portal. Like every other workload, we have an administration portal that sits within 365 admin portals. So voice is its set of tabs, left nav, and then we do a bunch of things with voice. The very first thing that voice customers do when they come into is, look for numbers. If you were coming in and you were a 50%, you had an organization of 50 people, you would look for, 50 numbers, and then you might look for a 1-800 number. Kind of thing. So the very first thing that customers do on our portal is search for numbers. So when I, took over the team, search speed was hovering at, about 15 seconds or what have you. But more importantly, if customers ran into issues with search or number porting, which is another thing that we do, our support was, we'd send them to an email link and say, hey, email this link. And that email went into our service desk, which was our operations. Service desk was a wing of our operations that took care of customers. Our customers hated this process where they start their journey in a portal and we give them a link, and then their support journey is via email with our service desk. They said,
there's a lot going on here, but this is a clearly outlined customer pain. Where this is an engineering manager who's talking about how they handle inbound support tickets and kind of the customer journey. Great words for an engineering manager to use, by the way. That means that they collaborate well with their product management, and they have more product ownership. There's a lot to love just about kind of the word choice, which demonstrates a dictionary that extends beyond kind of engineering nomenclature, but the clear outline here of the customer pain point, which is we basically get them to this point and we hand them off to an email support, and it's very painful. It takes a long time. Like it's a good framing for a clear customer problem, which I just wanted to point out. It was pretty awesome.
They really hated this. So I said, okay, we got to step back a little bit, and our operations was really dying because they can't support through email is a nightmare. We have case management systems, we have Dynamics 365, we have CRM systems all over the place. We could use those. So I said, step back a little bit.
You could do a better job of defining what the nightmare is and why it's a nightmare. I mean, just talking about different systems doesn't really help. It's true. And like someone who's a senior leader would know that, but like, why? What do wait times look like? How many steps? Like, just be a bit more specific with data.
How do we integrate case management into the portal? So our customers who are on M365 and voice portal don't have to leave the portal. So what we did was we said, okay, you're in a search journey, you're searching for numbers or you're trying to port numbers, and then you run into an issue. Said you run into an issue, we put in a get help button in there that automatically links the customer back to our case management system. So we built a CRM based Dynamics 365 based case management system, and we had the portal pop up a wizard with all the context that the customer has up until that point. And then we built a case out of that via the portal. And the customer had a way to interact. And then we launched a little wizard and said the customer could talk to our support desk person from the portal using the wizard. And everything that our support service desk did on the backend showed up on the portal. So now our customers have a way of continuing their journey and then getting to the state that they want to all through the portal. It was, it took a little bit of back and forth, but I think this was a huge win for our customers. So today we don't have. I'll just explain the numbers that we saw after that. So we track what are called canceled orders. Like somebody comes into our portal and says they want to buy numbers, and then they're frustrated for some reason and leave our portal. Our canceled orders dipped by 40% in a couple of weeks after we put this integrated wizard into our portal. For me, that was huge. And then once we track that, we continuously track how our customers are doing that, and the feedback that we get is getting away from this email-based system was really good for our customers.
Okay, two things real quick as to again addressing the how would I make it better. This candidate's doing a great job of outlining what the problem was and what they did and why it was impactful for customers. And they talked about within a few weeks, could do a little bit better as to the framing of that, but within a few weeks we saw a dip in canceled orders of 40%. That seems like a big number. Here's the problem with percentages is, going from 10 canceled orders to 6 canceled orders is a dip of 40%, but really it's only 4 absolute canceled orders that they removed from the system. What did that represent in terms of revenue opportunity for the company? How much of a bump in terms of revenue did that matter for the company? That's a kind of like a level 1 improvement here, right? A level 2 improvement is, well, not only did we see the 40% reduction over several weeks, but then what did it continue to look like over time? Did we see the numbers trending down and the number of canceled orders continue to trend down and it got to some stabilized number? That was a massive improvement from where we started. That's the level 2 answer. And again, tying that back to revenue opportunity. The kind of super big brain executive discussion here would have been, and of those customers that got this improved experience, we took our retention from, our time retention, because it sounds like they're selling a SaaS service, from, I'm going to make up a number, 12 months to now 18 months before they cancel, right? So the lifetime value of these customers was higher. Why might that be, right? Now the super big brain analysis. Well, in talking to the customers who were canceling out, the ones that were ready to make a decision and had the most money to spend and were likely to be the best customers were less tolerant of this roadblock that we were putting in front of them. And so we were capturing customers that we were losing that turned out to be better customers than the ones that were actually fighting their way through the system and getting to the endpoint. So we improved our customer base by capturing better customers who stayed with us longer that generated X amount of revenue over time, right? So that's how you could really expand on this answer and show like high-level executive thinking, which would have improved here. Not that this candidate did a bad job, but I've been asked, hey, how would I make it better? Those are some things I would have added to this story to demonstrate that I'm a high-level product executive who knows how to run a large organization. Hold on, I want to make sure I understand I understand the solve. I want to make sure you didn't oversimplify the problem for my sake. Was the problem strictly tied to the vast majority of customers were doing this thing when they started their journey, searching for numbers, and they were getting trapped in this support loop, which was a nightmare, and they threw up their hands and just gave up? Was it that discrete a thing, or did you use that as an example of part of the initial customer journey, and many of the paths in the initial customer journey ended up in support and service desk, which was email handled and therefore not integrated? So I'm trying to understand, is this related to a specific thing, which was searching for numbers, or did you use that as an example of a broader set of tasks?
Yeah. Great question.
I always like it when the candidate agrees that I've asked a good question. It just makes me feel better.
What's true for search was true for all other workloads that we do. We do number porting. We do what is called inventory type change. There is about 4 or 5 operations that our customers were redirected to service desk. We had used the experience from search and said, we do, can we have get help links in every workflow that we have in the portal? So today we do search using the wizards as an integrated wizard into the portal. We do porting from the portal as a different wizard, because porting is a different workflow that takes multiple days. We do type change, number type change. For example, customers could buy a conferencing bridge number and say, no, I want to change it to my 1-800 number, or vice versa. There's plenty of operations where customers change their mind after they've bought the number. We do, like I said, port in, port out. We do inventory management for them via the help. For example, we have external partners that we integrate with into our systems. When our customers work with external partners, they might bring numbers from external partners into us. So we do all of those operations. So we had used search as a place where we could do other operations as well. So everything today is run from the portal via the little wizards that we had built.
This is actually a really good recovery on the part of the candidate who understood the question as it was asked and realized that they had an opportunity to kind of reframe the situation and task in front of them to give more context to how complex the problem was, and that they had actually kind of narrowed down to a starting point that made more sense for them. What didn't land here was why they prioritized search over the other ones. I'm guessing because it was higher impact, higher number of fails, and unlike the number porting and then working with external partners didn't require multiple days. It was something they could solve in the near term. But those are things that you can use as additional context without getting way into the weeds as to, we had this many things, we focused on this thing because, and here was the impact, and here's what we did, right? So you kind of work through your funnel of your story, but starting with the bigger thing helps set more context and just further establishes that this person was managing very large project with high potentiality for being wrong for the impact on the business. So just again, because I'm now being the annoying product manager, did you, the way that this is presenting is that you solved the symptom? Well, no, that's the wrong way to think about it. You solved where they ended up, meaning they're still following the directions and getting to the wrong destination, and you're helping them get from the wrong destination to the right destination rather than fixing the path that they followed to get to the right destination, right? So as presented, what you're saying is, well, they have this problem, it's search for the numbers, and they keep doing this thing, and I know, some number of times out of 10, they end up needing to go to service desk. So we just made it easier for them to get to service desk, as opposed to, well, why were they falling into that hole? Why was that breaking? And why did you fix the let me get them to service desk as opposed to, well, this is broken, so let's just fix the problem? Yeah. And so here's a great way to think about your story execution when you're doing your story prep, right? one of the questions, there's a lot of these, and I give these in the feedback sessions, but one of the questions I like to ask myself, or used to ask myself when I was prepping my stories, and when I help candidates think through how to prep their stories is, what problem are we solving, or did we solve, right? And was this the right problem? Right? Because that's a key element here. And that's kind of what I was getting at here, is saying the annoying product manager. But what problem was being solved, and were they solving the right problem versus kind of solving the downstream thing that made it better, I guess, suck less, as opposed to removing the suck altogether. And so that's a thing that, with proper preparation might have come through better in the answer. And as a product manager and as an interviewer, I wanted to ask the probing questions. You may not get asked the probing questions in an interview. And it's important to understand that, because when an interviewer doesn't ask the probing questions, you're leaving story on the table, right? Your job is to get the job. Your job is to show that you can do this thing that they're interviewing for. Don't leave great reveals. Don't leave stories on the table. Present the content. You understand that?
Yeah. So great question. So, okay, maybe that, I think, thanks for the feedback. We are not only, so our goal is to make sure that customers never go to this get help/wizard button. When I say that, the implication here is, when customers start their journey for either searching or porting, we want them to successfully complete within the portal without ever hitting the get help link button. As a goal for this fiscal, we have that 85% of our operations, be it search or porting or number type inventory change or inventory management, we want 85% of them to successfully complete within the portal on their first try. That is our primary impetus for working. All of these side paths that we're building is just off ramps in the event, the 15% cases that don't succeed, these are the off ramps. So we've built a better off ramp, but our core is to make sure that they succeed on the portal on their first try. And then we're doing numerous things, and I can go into great detail as to how we are integrating in real time with partners when stock is not available, and I can dive into.
No, so great bridging question there. I as an interviewer had an agenda. I wanted to move forward. That was a great bridging question, saying, hey, I have more to talk about. Happy to dive deeper here. Great bridging question. Okay, that's a much better, it helps and it clarifies.
Right.
And what I want to understand now is, you integrated with the back end and you made it easier for your service desk people to communicate with these folks so they could stay in portal. Got it.
Right.
So you fixed that problem. So that's, and I'm going to use the number, your goal is 85%. I'm going to assume you hit your goal. So you solved the 15% case, right?
That is correct.
But I'm going to assume that the goal was 85 because you weren't there. So let's say you were at 75, right?
Okay.
So you solved the best case 15% because you got to your 85% goal. But at the time when you saw it was 25%. So what did you do to close the gap from 75% to 85% for that specific thing? Let's focus on the number search.
Yeah, fantastic. Great question. So, couple of things. Most searches fail for two reasons. One is you come in, as an example, I go in and I say, I'm in Redmond, I'm in Sammamish, I want 425 or 206 numbers. The search comes back and says, oh no, we don't have 425 numbers, but we have, Mount Vernon numbers. Are you interested? Most customers say no.
360. Gotta get that 360 number.
Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah. That is one reason.
Yep.
The other reason is, we take too long for the search to complete, and then, they're not happy with it. So I'll tell you.
Well, hold on. Was that the search being incomplete? Was that a server problem, or was that a third-party provider that you were waiting on?
Great question. So I'll get it.
Sorry.
It is a combination. I would say it's actually more. And the reason I'd say that is, for example, if we knew that a lot of customers were looking for 425, 206 numbers, it's our job to detect that early, go to our providers, who, a bunch of providers telcos that we work with, and say, hey, telcos, we're getting these. We'd love to have more of this stock in place before somebody comes in. So what typically happens is, because stock is not that easy to come by, telcos are not very willing to share stock. So what we've done to address that specific issue is, if a customer wants 4 to 5 or 2 or 6 number, and if it's not in our stock, we've built real-time pipeline where we tell the customer, hey customer, please hang on. We are working with our providers. And this process could take a little longer. Typically, we want to complete search in 2 to 3 seconds. But this process, because it's real time and going into the customer, can take 10, 15, sometimes 20 seconds. So we inform the customer saying, please hold tight. We are doing certain things to bring you. And that has fixed at least 10 to 15% of our searches, where customers are now patient. They're told what is happening, and then in real time we bring from our providers back to the other thing that the second thing that I was telling you why searches were failing is when we inherited or when I took over the team, search was taking 15 seconds because of the storage mechanisms that we had used. So if we had built our original product on table stores, and then we had built all relational constructs on top of that. That is, and we had built it like that because Azure SQL was not compliant, and there was a number of reasons we had chosen that path 5 years ago. We had now since moved on to more modern storage systems, Cosmos DB being what we're using right now, and our search completes in milliseconds. So what used to take 15 seconds before, now we're able to complete P95s in about 2.8 seconds. Most enterprise admins are okay with that kind of time. We're not going for 1 second kind of times because the cost of doing that goes up exponentially, and enterprise admins are more tolerant. So this, as long as we tell them, as long as we give them good results, they're more interested in accurate results than very, very fast search speed. So we said, okay, 2.8 seconds is a reasonable place, and then we've passed it. So those two things, search speed improvements and our ability to go in real time to the providers has brought it up to, is bringing it up to 85. We're still not at 85, by the way. There are a couple of things we have to do.
I understand.
They're getting there.
Okay. That was a fairly senior level executive trying to make the move from one FANG company to another. And I would say overall did a really good job of painting a picture of a somewhat complex problem. It took some kind of obviously digging to get to what was the real issue here. There's an area for improvement. But there's one thing I want to highlight before I jump into the assessment that would have been right into the room, which is, I don't know if you caught it at the end there was a high degree of customer obsession here, which was understanding the why of the customer problems, like what they were getting frustrated with, and kind of their mentality as to why they were kind of canceling out or moving away. And then focusing on how to better communicate with the customer and set the expectations, but understanding that there's a difference between a customer doing, an enterprise customer doing X and an enterprise customer doing Y. Different modalities are going to have different time expectations. And so being clear in communicating information as to what they were doing and what they being the company, the candidate was at, what they were doing and their external connections and why it was taking longer. And, this thing is going to take this amount of time, but this thing is going to take a little bit longer. So hang tight. He used a bit of colloquial language, but I understood what he was trying to get at, which is high degree of customer obsession around communicating to that customer, hey, here's how we're making this better for you, and this is why it's going to take a little bit longer, set those expectations, get a better result, get fewer cancels. It was actually a really good end to the question. So what would have been read into the room for this engineering manager had I been on the loop? Invent and simplify, very good showing by the candidate. High impact problem space with metrics supporting a scoping assessment. The rationale for the solution took a little bit of digging to uncover, but overall this was a very good showing for the candidate. Candidate could have done more to highlight the simplicity introduced, but this is a small nit. The nit here really is around just the communication, as I stated in kind of the analysis earlier, which is, what they presented was they were focusing on this thing, which was actually part of this problem. And he didn't do a good job of presenting this problem. And this problem was made up of these subproblems. And these subproblems in this specific customer journey, I focus on this thing because it had this amount of impact. Like there's the opportunity to expand on the what and the why when you're communicating in an interview to paint a better picture and really big, huge scale problems. But this is what we focused on because that's the question you asked me about, was making something significantly simpler for customers. So this is what we focused on, and here's why. Now let me dig in deep and explain that all to you. So I thought the candidate was very, very good. Definitely lots of other good popped out of the interview, but that's the assessment that would have been read in the room. Okay, so if you find this content useful, definitely would appreciate it if you leave a like. Definitely subscribe to the channel. We're not only trying to help you interview better and land your dream job, but literally once you get that dream job, you're going to interview other people. And I'm guessing that you want to know over time, how do executives think about interviewing candidates? What are we looking for? Why do we do the things we do? And how do we run our interviews to get the absolute top candidates? So that's it for this week, and we will catch up next week.